to introduce myself. My name is Jamie. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And as Andre said, I am the mental health consultant for Head Start. And a little bit about my experience is I currently work as a therapist with all ages. I have experience working with kids of all ages up through teenagehood, young adults. I also do a lot of parenting support, and as well as couples and family therapy too. So today we are going to be talking about understanding your child's challenging behaviors. So I titled this Little Kids, Big Feelings, because you all are here because you have a young child, and I'm sure they probably have big feelings a lot. So what we're going to go over today is, first, I'm going to go through some very common behaviors, common challenging behaviors for this age group, for 3 to 5-year-olds. Talk about what's typical, what's not typical. Then we're going to go into understanding why these are common behaviors, even though they're very frustrating and challenging for parents and guardians. Then we're going to go into some practical strategies that you can use when your child is dealing with these behaviors or when you're struggling and you don't know what else to do. And then lastly, we're just going to talk about a little briefly about staying calm and confident as a parent and how that will help you utilize the practical strategies quickly and effectively. Throughout this whole thing, we will have time for Q&A at the end, but I will pause after each kind of section for questions so that you can ask them at the time that they're the most relevant. Okay, so I will start with a little bit of a question to all of you. Let's see, how many people do we have here? We can do, if you want to just put in the chat, or feel free to come off mute if you'd like. If anyone would like to share, what is one of the behaviors that your child does that is the most difficult for you? What is the most frustrating? Basically, what behavior pushes your buttons the fastest?
When they can't get in the car when you have to go, they take too long.
Okay, right, like they're trying to dilly-dally, they don't want to get in the car, and you're like, we gotta be somewhere on time. Yep, thank you for sharing. I see hitting in the chat. That's a big one.
For me, when they hear the no, like sometimes the no, it's not too bad, but like, especially when my son wants like something really bad and I know that's not the time for that, it's not too bad, like not big behaviors, but like this is where I mostly face those, like, difficulties.
Okay, like no is the worst word that they could ever have heard in that moment.
Yes, especially
Yeah.
when they really want something and then they hear the no from us, they don't like it.
Yep, thank you for sharing that one. I see throwing themselves down in the chat. Mine wants to be a princess every day for school. It takes more time to get ready in the morning. Okay, so both of you are in the same boat, taking too much time in the morning to get ready and arrive early. Anyone else? Any others? Those are the main ones? Okay, those are good ones. So I also want to take a minute to ask you to think back when you were a kid. Maybe you can't remember being a preschooler, but as early as you can remember, you just being a young child or just a kid, do you remember what it was like for you when you were feeling overwhelmed? When you were overwhelmed with emotions, maybe you were just upset about something. What did it feel like? What did you do as a kid? Just think about that. And if anyone wants to share, feel free to share. I'll go first. As an example, I remember when I was young, a lot of the times knowing I didn't feel good, knowing I was upset in some form or fashion, but sometimes having no idea why or what, and just knowing I was not happy in the moment and not being able to say it or articulate it or even have the words to describe or even know what was going on inside of me. What did all of you do, or does anyone have a memory maybe?
I'll say like in terms of, so hold on. You said like a memory of when you couldn't express something as a kid.
Or you're just feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, so just the inability to talk. Like
Mm-hmm.
even though it's like, hey, I know what I want or what I'm trying to say, it's just not coming out right now. I'm getting even more irritated.
Uh-huh. Yep. Exactly. That's how I felt too. Right. That's a very common experience. Even as adults, sometimes when we're really upset or having a really big feeling, we can't quite get the words out probably the way that we would want to say them, right? Thank you for sharing. All right, anyone else want to share before I move on? There's no wrong answers. We got in the chat. I remember feeling scared because I wasn't able to control my emotions. Yep. Right. Feeling out of control of the feelings. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so I asked that to try to step inside the mind of a preschooler, to think back what it was like, and for us to take a little perspective, right? It's been a long time since we've been a kid. So today we are, to understand these behaviors, we are going to think about what is actually going on in their head. Why are they acting this way, right? We want to know. And if we can understand it better, then we know how to handle it better. Okay, so something to keep in mind when we're thinking about these challenging behaviors is that a 3 to 5-year-old's brain is very much still under construction. The area that handles planning, impulse control, reasoning, and self-regulation or emotional regulation is still very immature. It's not fully developed yet. They're easily distracted. They have very egocentric thinking, which is me thinking. They feel emotions quickly and intensely. They have poor working memory, so the ability to hold information in their mind for long periods of time, they struggle with. And then they also have poor thinking flexibility, so being able to like switch gears or understand something in a non-rigid way. So I picked the just top 4 challenging behaviors that I thought most people would say. And I think a lot of what you shared does fall into these categories. Actually, I think all of them do. So hopefully I'll cover everyone's today. And if I don't, feel free to pop in if it relates to any of these or at the end, and you can ask your questions there. But these 4 are all developmentally normal. Refusing and saying no a lot at this age is very common. Difficulty sharing or taking turns is to be expected. Transition challenges, so moving from one activity to the next, getting somewhere on time, getting into the car to go somewhere can be difficult. They can push back. They might not want to end the activity they're currently in. And then last I put meltdowns, and we could put tantrums in this section. All of these are to be expected out of their typical 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old. As they get older, obviously on the older end of it, you will see less and less of these challenging behaviors as they develop and grow and learn, but it is to be expected. Keeping in mind when we talk about developmentally typical or atypical, some of you might have children with special needs or differing abilities, and most likely the difference is they still struggle with all the same things, but it's probably the difference is more how severe it is or how frequent it is. So you might find that, the typical kid is doing all these things, but maybe your child is doing them extra frequently, or when it does happen, it feels a lot bigger. Before we dive in, I do want to share a quote that is actually part of the teaching pyramid training that all of the Head Start teachers do that I found really worth sharing. So it's, if a child doesn't know how to read, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to swim, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to multiply, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to drive, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to behave, we punish or teach. Why can't we finish the last sentence as automatically as we do the others? So this is an old quote, but clearly still rings true. And I think hopefully today the information I share will allow us to think in more of a teaching lens of what don't they know or what haven't they learned yet, and how can we teach them in the best way possible. Okay, so I'm going to go through each one, starting with refusing and saying no. We hear about like terrible 2s, 3s, starting to say no to everything. And this is completely normal. And it might feel like they just want to say no for the sake of saying no. But it is because your child is testing their limits. They're exploring their boundaries and their rules, and that's how they learn. So seeing what they can get away with helps them learn. And hey, if it were me and I had the option to get away with more cookies, I would test my limits and see if my parent would be willing to give me more, right? Wouldn't we all? So they just see it as learning and trying to see in different situations with different people, if the rules still apply, if they don't apply here, because they are having to learn all that. Especially when we think about, right, like there's different rules at school than at home. So by pushing it and seeing what they can get, they are doing that to learn. Ultimately, they're practicing their self-agency and building autonomy. And so this is really healthy for them to have this sense of wanting to be independent and wanting to make choices for themselves. So they are also seeking control sometimes too. Fix my screen. Okay. They want to make their own choices and have a say, right? Think about how much control or little control our preschoolers have, right? They don't get to pick what they, they don't get to choose what they do with their life. They don't get to choose their schedule. A lot of things we're creating for them and telling them what to do and what not to do all day long. And so it is completely natural that they want to see where can they get control in their lives, and they want to feel independent. And that is a part of growing up and in a healthy way. Okay, so what can we do when we're faced with the no, and it becomes a power struggle and we want to avoid the power struggle? Some options, trying to say what to do instead of what not to do. So for example, this could be saying walking feet instead of don't run, because think about if I said to you, everyone close their eyes and don't think about a purple elephant. Don't think about a purple elephant. Don't think about it. What might pop in your head? Is anyone thinking, did anyone picture a purple elephant? Even briefly? So when we say what not to do, we are putting that idea in their head. I mean, they're already doing it, but it's better to say what we want them to do. So now they're thinking about walking and that's in their head as opposed to thinking about the thing we don't want them, we don't want in mind. Another option is giving two choices, especially when you don't care about this decision. You just need them to get their shoes on. You don't care which shoes they put on, then give them the choice. I recommend giving just two choices at this age to keep it really simple. Red shoes or blue shoes? Do you want this cup or that cup? Do you want to open it or do you want me to open it, right? If it's something that doesn't matter to you, trying to give them as many choices as possible. I think sometimes it's easy to go about the day and it's like quicker to make the decisions yourself, but it can go a really long way in your child feeling in control, even if they're not really in control.
Oh, wow, nice.
They'll feel like they are, right? Like you won as a parent because you ultimately got them to do what you wanted to do. In their minds, they think, "Ooh, I got to pick it out. I got to get what I want." But really, you still got your goal done at the end of the day. And you still held the boundary of, like, let's say it's shoes. If you said, no, we need to put shoes on before we go outside, you are making sure that they are following that rule, that boundary that you set, instead of letting them kind of get away without doing it. But you did it in a way that made them feel like they had some control over it. So this can be done with almost anything throughout the day that feels applicable for you. Okay, our next one is keeping directions short and concrete. It can be easy, especially at this age. They're not able to hold a bunch of directions in their head. So keeping them very simple and one direction at a time is best. So this might be, for example, if you're like, okay, we have to clean up, they might not know what cleanup means. We want to be really concrete. Like, okay, we're putting your toys back in this basket, or we're putting this over here, or we're gonna, put this away. And because in their mind, they might not understand what your version of cleanup is. And keeping that in mind, we might assume that they know, but they might not. Next, we can get playful. So some ideas, if you're finding yourself in that power struggle and it seems like nothing is working, is try to make it playful. This can be like still doing a choice. You can do you want to skip to the car or do you want to walk like an elephant to the car and make it fun? At the end of the day, you're still getting them to the car, right? And they think they're playing a game and they're having fun. A great one can be when cleaning up. Do you want to race and see who can pick up the toys the fastest? Or do you think you can do it in under a minute when my alarm goes off? Kids really like that. It makes it a game. You can make it competitive if they like it. Ultimately, they forget about that power struggle of you're telling me what to do and I don't like that into, ooh, I get to do something fun and exciting. Especially if you get into it and you seem excited about it and you go along with it. You can get really creative here in all different moments of how to make little playful moments throughout the day when you find yourself stuck in those situations. Overall, though, if it really feels like nothing's working, a go-to is to try to connect before directing. So what I mean when I say this is just a simple connection. It can be something of like, I know you don't really want to end the game that you're playing right now, but we do need to go to the car to get wherever, right? So just a quick emotion of validation of, I see you, I hear you, like, oh, I see that you don't want to, I get it. But then you can follow through with some of the other things. Or I know I know you're having a hard time, or I hear you, you're telling me you don't want to do it, can go a really long way. Feeling like they've been heard, if they are like, okay, you understood me, you got it, they are less likely to repeat it and feel like, oh, you're just not listening. They know, oh no, you know I'm saying no, and you're still holding the rules. So that can be kind of overall a great go-to. Any questions for this one before I move on from refusing and saying no? Has anyone found that these work well for them or are like already using them?
Personally, I think like some of them work. I feel like in the house or in the home with children and giving choices, it's hard to do that when they know where things are and they know that there's more than two choices.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I think. And I mean, even as a teacher, I like with my students, I do give them choices and it works better. So I feel like that's more of a source to use outside of like where kids know, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you have like if that's the case, you can offer more than two as long as it's not overwhelming for them. Like, oh, I don't know which one I want. But if there's options and you don't care and they're all for taking, like let's say you really don't mind, and they have a bunch of
Marcy,
shoes, that's totally okay too.
let
It doesn't
them
have to
start.
be two. But thank you for sharing that. That's a good point.
Can you please?
All right, someone said already using all five. Okay, cool. Any other questions or any other trouble that you still get with these, or do they feel like they work? Okay, we got someone already using them. I think sometimes it's really great. It can be hard to be using these like consistently all day, every day, right? Like sometimes we forget and we say, don't do this. It can be a fun kind of challenge. Okay, maybe not that fun, but it can be a good challenge to pick one and kind of think about it all day as like, okay, my challenge for myself today is to give as many choices as it makes sense, or to challenge myself. Okay, I'm really going to focus on for the next half of the day not using don't and try to say the positive, to kind of check in with yourself and notice when you're doing it, because we're human, we're not perfect, we're not going to be able to do these all the time, constantly, consistently, every time. Okay. Our next one is difficulty with sharing or taking turns. So the reason our preschool aged kids struggle with this is because sharing requires impulse control, perspective taking, and time awareness, all of which they have very little. They typically don't know how much a minute feels like. They don't know what 5 minutes feels like, especially 5 minutes playing a game or watching a show that they like. First 5 minutes of having to be patient and sit still feels very different. So in their mind, sometimes like if you're saying, oh, we're going to leave in 5 minutes, they really can't conceptualize that. Like they don't. And when you say, okay, now it's time to go, to them, sometimes it can feel like, wait, what? I didn't really know what 5 minutes meant. They are also still learning social rules, right? So this is really a skill that needs to be taught, and learning the rules of fairness. Oh, okay, to be fair, right? I get a turn and you get a turn. Like I said earlier, they are very me thinking, and I'll show you in a little bit a video to explain that further. But they actually don't have the cognitive thinking ability to fully understand or put themselves in someone else's shoes. So therefore they don't really understand how to make things fair. And they just know when it's not fair for them. It's very clear when it doesn't feel fair for them, but it's hard to think about someone else's or another kid's perspective. And lastly, they do have limited language skills. So like we said earlier, right? When you're upset and when the younger you are, the less language you have, right? The ability to say, oh, I would like to play with that. When you're done, can I please have it? Right? They're not able to say that. So instead, they might resort to grabbing, yelling, or crying in order to communicate. And sometimes this gets them what they want and gets them what they need because this is the form of language that they have. And if they're not able to verbally say it, they are going to try to communicate it. They might successfully get a toy by grabbing it, right? Or by crying. And then someone passing them the toy because that's all they have. Okay, so let's see if this video plays. Zoom's been a little finicky for me lately, but let's see. Can you guys see the video? Okay. Or we just, sometimes I've had people just hear it. Yes, okay. One person does, good.
We
Thank you.
can see it, but there's no volume on it.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
Okay, hold
No.
on 1 second. Okay, we should be able to now. Please let me know if you don't.
Can you tell me what you see when you look at that from where you're sitting? What are
We
some
could
of the
hear
things-
it.
Thank you. Okay. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So what you're going to see is an experiment, actually, that has it's pretty pretty old and has been mimicked many times. It's called the Three Mountains Task. And it tests children's perspective taking. So basically, the child is shown a 3D model of a mountain, and then they ask them to sit on both sides while the experimenter is sitting across from them. And they're going to ask, there's going to be 2 kids in this video. They're going to ask the kids to describe what they see first, and then they're going to ask the child to describe what they think the other person can see from their angle. And you'll see the difference. It's going to be a little kid first and then an older child after, and there'll be a difference in their answers.
Can you tell me what you see when you look at that from where you're sitting? What are some of the things that you see?
And a cat.
A cat.
And a tree and a bone.
Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Can you tell me what you see when you look at it from that stool?
An owl.
An owl.
And him.
What is that?
A
The
goat.
video is paused.
Okay, is there anything else you see?
No video.
Oh, so it's not working for you. Oh, so it was working and then it changed when I added the audio. Why does Zoom do this to me? Okay, let's see. Maybe I could share. What do we might have to skip it and I'll just describe it. Some people were seeing it. Okay, I'll just describe it. How about that? And I'll show you just the pictures so you can see. Let me X out to make sure you all can see the image here. Hopefully you can see it. I'll just describe it. So first there's a little boy and the woman asks him, what do you see on this side? And shows him one side. And he says, a cat in a tree. And then he sat on the opposite side. And he says a goat and a few other things. And then while he sat on the side with the goat, there's a big mountain in the way, so he can't see what he saw on the other side. He can't see the tree and the cat. And she asks, what do you think I can see? And he just says exactly what he can see from his perspective. So he wasn't able to think about, oh, the lady is sitting on the other side from me and there's this big mountain in the way, so she can't see what I see and she sees what I saw when I sat there. But then they turned to an older kid, and the older kid, when asked, oh, what do you think I see, is able to describe exactly what the woman sees, because he is able to think, oh, she's sitting over there, and when I sat over there, I saw this, and I'm not sitting there now, but I remember what it was like to sit over there. So unfortunate that the video is not working, but it just goes to show that this is a cognitive limitation and not just defiance or lack of empathy when a child doesn't want to share or doesn't want to be cooperative or sort of kind and empathetic, because they pretty much literally are not able to put themselves in someone else's shoes. Their brain doesn't do it until they get a little bit older, and then you'll see when you test them, as soon as they get older, they can do the perspective taking. So they really are limited by their ability to even think in that way. Okay, so what can we do? Because it is a skill, it is a social skill to take turns, to wait, to share, right? To offer toys to a friend, to ask, to use a language. We want to think about just teaching the skills. So this can look like narrating the skill, like you're waiting, that's hard, your turn is next, right? You're going to go first, and then Jimmy's going to go second. We're going to take turns. We can't both have the block at once. So you'll get it first and you'll get it next, right? You can narrate it out for them and to help them understand, what does it actually mean to share? What does it mean to take turns? It involves waiting. It involves sitting there and waiting for the other person to be done. So just reinforcing that in their brain for them is helpful. And then also using visuals or concrete turns, such as a timer. So this could be like a sand timer. Okay, this is your turn until the sand falls, and then we're going to flip it and it's going to be their turn. Or songs can be really great, or counting. So song is awesome because, again, right, if we say, okay, you're going to play with it for 1 minute and then you're going to play with it for the next minute, they don't know what a minute feels like. So they need something, either a visual countdown, or song can be really great. A song is, if it's 2-3 minutes, they're able to understand when a song ends and when a song starts, and if it's the same song or not, right? They understand that. So it's a great way to signal, okay, you got it for a whole song, and now he'll get it for a whole song. And then, yeah, obviously just counting down can be helpful too, especially if it's like a 10-second thing or something pretty short. Lastly, we can model it ourselves. So a lot of the times when we're playing with kids, as an adult, we might not care, right? If the kid is like, oh, I want that blue crayon you're holding, we'll pass it to them. But a great way is actually playing with your child and almost acting like another kid, instead of just being like, oh, here, yeah, I don't care. Take whatever you want out of my hand. Being like, oh, hold on, I'm using the blue one. I'll give it to you as soon as I'm done. Oh, okay, I'm done now. Here you go. And then saying, oh, thank you. Oh, would you like it? And practicing like, oh, I've been using this for a while. Would you like a turn? And the more you do that over and over, you are actually modeling the skills, the language of turn taking or sharing with them. And for them to be able to see you do it right in front of them and be a part of it is the best way for them to learn. Any questions about this one? Or is it pretty straightforward? Good. Okay. Okay, we're going to go into transition challenges. So the reason preschoolers struggle with transitions and moving from activity to activity is because they are truly living in the moment. If they are playing with the blocks, the only thing they are thinking about is the blocks in that moment. They are not like us adults who we're thinking about what are we going to have for dinner tonight? What are we going to do tomorrow about that thing at work? Oh, what about this weekend? Oh, I got to get groceries. No, they are only thinking about blocks, which is amazing in its own sense. However, it makes it really difficult when they're only focused on their blocks and then they're told all of a sudden they need to come eat dinner, right? In their mind, they weren't thinking, oh, I get to play with the blocks for a little bit and then I'm having dinner next. They are not thinking about the next step or the next thing in their schedule. Again, that limited sense of time awareness, right? They're not able to really understand that they're running late. They don't understand how many minutes late they are. They don't understand the consequences of being late somewhere. They don't know that dilly-dallying of how much time it really takes. And then switching gears is a skill. To be able to go from one thing to another, sometimes as adults we even struggle with this, right? Like certain tasks can be hard to like jump into, but really like switching from doing one type of activity to a different type of activity can be challenging, and it can take them a second to kind of rearrange. Oh, I got a question in the chat. What age is the best age to learn the sharing thing for kids? You can start whenever, so as early as possible. You can teach them and model without necessarily forcing it, right? If they're too young, like too young to understand, you can still give them the language and try to get them to practice it, or you can model it and just be like, oh, I'm going to give you a turn. So there is no age that's too young. I think as early as possible. Just being mindful of your expectations of if they're going to be able to do it or not. But you can still teach them it, even if they're not able to fully do it. And then lastly, they might not understand why, right? Why do we have to eat dinner right now? Why do we have to leave for school right now? They really don't understand the big picture thinking, right? They just think they're being told what to do and that they have to stop the activity that they're enjoying for no reason in their minds sometimes. So keeping in mind like that, they really don't have that awareness to understand why it's important that we leave right now and that what traffic is. Okay, so what we can do, some things to help is always prep when we're able to. So this would be prepping them. You can verbally prep them or visually, but reminding them multiple times. So if it is you have trouble with the transition from playing to sitting down to eating, like the second they go to play, you could be like, okay, you're going to play first, and then we're going to sit at the table and eat. And reminding them, okay, now you're playing, next we're going to eat. Okay, we have one more song of playing, and then we're going to move to the table. You can reiterate this more times than you think, and it will help. They won't get sick of it. Do it extra than you think you might need to. We could also use visual schedules for daily routines. Having like a picture schedule can be really helpful with things like morning routines or bedtime routines. You don't want to make it too complicated, but if you have a few things like brush teeth, PJs, or bath PJs, bedtime story, sleep, right? Something simple with pictures that they can visually see and that you can reiterate over and over and have the same routine every night. That can help them actually learn the routine and know what to expect and be able to hold it a little better in their minds of, oh, what comes next today? Also giving warnings and countdowns, prepping them with the next thing, offering the choices again, right? Do you want to hop or walk to the car? So this is great for any transition, to move them from one place to another. You could get really creative. You can do animals. Do you want to act as this animal? Do you want to spin in a circle to walk to the table? Whatever, you can do whatever you're comfortable with and whatever they enjoy. You can dance. Do you want to dance to move them to the other room to get ready for bed? And then lastly, if possible, not always possible, scheduling buffer time. If you know your kid, it always struggles with a specific transition in the day. If you're able to, don't tell them, but you give yourself extra time because you know they're slow. It's better to be early than to be late. So if that's possible, that's always something to think about. Any questions about transitions or any thoughts or ideas, things that work for you that you want to share with everyone?
I would say, sorry, my children are acting a fool, but that when it comes to the transitioning and everything and really making a schedule and creating a schedule, because I think I shared before, like my son, he has autism, so ABA kind of set up a whole laminated thing where in the night before, yes, this is my phone. Excuse me, mom is talking. The night before we'll go through like, okay, here's your schedule for tomorrow, and he knows exactly what he's gonna do. Like, and he's to the point now that even what the time of the day, he knows who's supposed to come or what he's supposed to do. So it does actually work, that one.
It's
We'll do your
good.
nails
Thank
after
you
the
for sharing
shower.
that. Thank you. That's awesome. Right, like reinforcing it every night is great. Anyone else want to share before we move on?
Actually, I have a question. What about when it's the opposite? Like they know, like for example, my son sometimes he knows the routine. He knows what he has to do. Looks like he's good following, like rules at school. But when it comes to the house, he likes to like kind of like stretch it, uh, like even though he knows, he is like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Like
Mm.
he likes to kind of like, um, I guess do the opposite. Like you could say that.
Yeah. Is it because an activity he doesn't want to do, so he kind of dilly
Eh,
dallies?
But yeah, I guess like sometimes like, oh, you know what time it is, it's time to go to bed, and then it's like, like, no, I don't want to do it because he's obviously not ready to go to bed even though he knows it's time. um
Hmm.
so sometimes it's a little bit of challenge, for me to have him follow through.
Yeah, that is tricky. I would say being mindful of just what activities are his like preferred activities and which ones are the hardest. Like if he doesn't like going to sleep, trying to pair, being mindful of what's coming before, like something like having iPad time or watching a show. Nothing is ever going to compete with having a screen for a kid, for anyone. So trying to get them to go from a very enjoyable activity to something they don't enjoy is always the hardest. So if it's possible, sometimes it can help like playing around with slowly doing like a less engaging or less preferred activity before the hard one that they don't like doing so that that transition feels a little easier.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add into that? I mean, just for my own commentary, I have three. Like my kids are 4, 3, and my son will be 2. And when we get home, I cut the screens on and like so I can cook dinner and all that. And then when everybody gets in the shower, I cut everything off, like screen wise. All the toys they get cleaned up and they just kind of chill out. Some days are worse than others. Obviously, I'm not going to follow it every single day, but like from what she said, is to kind of pick and choose what the kids are doing, because now I have it to where like I have the parental control set up on my phone so it cuts all the screens off and it shows like a moon and they, oh, it's time to go do this. So that if once you're consistent about it and they know and they don't have the access to everything else, I feel like they should follow through. And of course that's not every day.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thanks for that perspective. And if it's particularly with sleep, you might want to consider offering like a wind down activity if you're not already, or rephrasing it as like, okay, you don't have to go to sleep, but you do have to close your eyes. And maybe like here you can use like an offering choices. Okay, we're going to close our eyes. Do you want me to stay near you? Like, or do you want me to count sheep with you, or do you want to do it on your own? Or do you want to, whatever you normally, if you offer something at nighttime, like, do you want to put this nightlight on, or do you want to sing a song, this song or that song? So giving an option there can be helpful, especially if it's like a wind down, something that will actually transition them into sleep. You could make it like the rule is they have to just have their eyes closed, and that might, like, something like that might make it easier. So I tell mine to close your eyes for 10 minutes, then I'll do what they want, and then they fall asleep. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then you'll do what they want. Then they fall asleep before they hit 10 minutes. That's great, right? If you can get them to close, they might be like, I'm not tired. I want to stay up. Usually you could tell they are tired. If you get them to close their eyes, sometimes that's all you need. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, and our last one is meltdowns. This happens with every kid. This happens even as they get older, just less frequently, and they go on for less. But it is very normal for 3 to 5-year-olds to have meltdowns. You can be the perfect parent, and they're still going to have moments where they are either tantruming or just like seem out of control with their feelings. The reason for this is because they experience big feelings, but they have limited calm down skills, right? As adults, we have different ways to regulate ourselves. Some of us have more experience and practice than others, but typically we have a few. Sometimes it's just like taking a deep breath, or when we're frustrated, right? Like when my computer's not working and I want to do this, I go, when I'm able to calm myself back down so I don't smash my laptop. But our young ones don't have these skills yet. They weren't taught, if they weren't taught them yet, even if they have been taught, they need to practice them to actually be able to do them in the moment. To even recognize their feelings and know that they need to take a break is really hard. And they are genuinely having big feelings. I think keeping in mind, right, if they're having a meltdown just because you told them no, they can't have ice cream for breakfast, one, yes, they might be doing it to try to get what they want, but they are also genuinely upset about it. Like, they are mad that they can't get what they want. And keeping in mind, like, these feelings still are real. Doesn't mean we're going to give in, but just having that empathy of like what they are feeling is really real, and it feels really big to them. Keeping in mind what leads to meltdowns sometimes is that their needs can pile up very easily. As adults, we're able to notice when we're tired and maybe address it by getting caffeine. If you're very lucky, getting a quick nap. If we're sick, we can take care of ourselves. We can notice it, and we know that we're not feeling well. Raise your hand if you've ever been hangry. I get hangry all the time, but we're better able to notice, ooh, I'm irritable right now. I'm also hungry. I didn't eat my lunch yet. I should probably go get lunch. Our kids do not yet have this ability to do that for themselves, and therefore their needs can tend to pile up throughout the day, right? Maybe they're already starting to feel a little hungry because it's getting close to lunchtime. Maybe they didn't sleep great the night before. Maybe they have a cold, right? All these things can pile on top of each other. And then when they don't get what they want, they're already here. And then the last thing just flips their lid. Yep, I already addressed the inability to identify and label their own emotions. Like, they don't even know what they're feeling or how they're feeling. So to be able to calm down themselves is nearly impossible without any help. And overall, a lot of times they really just are in the mindset of like, I just know I don't feel good and I don't know why. And really having that lack of awareness. And I don't know what to do about it, should I add it on there. I guess I gotta skip this video. It might not work. I just love this video. It's this little girl is crying and her big brother goes, "Did you have a nap today?" And she goes, "I didn't." And he goes, "Well, you need one." And I put it in here because I like to just show that the little girl is too young to know that's why she's upset. She's not sitting there being like, oh, I must be cranky because I didn't get my nap. Oh, okay, you know the video. Someone knows the video. Thank you for sharing that. But the little one is doesn't have the awareness to be like, oh, I didn't get my nap yet. That's why I'm so cranky. The older boy has a little more awareness and knows, oh, she's upset because she didn't have her nap. And I know when I don't have my nap, I'm cranky, right? So what, oh, it's going to play. I guess I could play it if you can hear it. I don't think you will. Okay. So what can we do about it? So keeping in mind that it is not your job to end the meltdown per se, it is to contain it and to like hold your boundary or hold whatever the rule was, if it's a rule they're upset about. Trying to just get them to stop feeling their feelings usually makes it worse. If we're trying to tell them like, stop, just calm right down. If you think about if someone just, when you're upset, if someone comes to you and just says, just calm down, usually makes us escalate further. So instead of trying and being anxious about ending it and getting them to calm down right away, we just want to be mindful of how we can hold our rules and hold our boundaries while they feel through the feelings. They're going to feel the feeling and then eventually they will calm down. I get a chat that's exactly how my daughters are when the youngest cries for every single thing. Her sisters now know she needs an app. Yep, that's good. So what you can do is stay calm yourself. Just being a calm presence, they're going to feel that and that can help regulate them. So literally like your heartbeat and seeing that you're calm and taking slow breaths alone and being near them can calm them down. We also want to name and validate the feeling. So keeping it really short and simple, but saying something like, it's okay to be mad, right? It's okay to be sad. And pairing it with something like, and it's not okay to hit, right? So it's okay that you don't want to go to school. It's okay that you're mad about going. You're allowed to be mad, and we still have to go to school. So you can offer that validations that their feelings are allowed, but they still have to follow the behavioral expectations. Let's see. My problem is holding to the rule. I get 3 meltdowns at once and guilt. Yeah, that's hard if you're getting 3 at once. The best that you can, you want to hold it out. And the less anxious you feel about them melting down or whatever, I know it's extremely hard if it's like in public and you're late and you have somewhere to be. But the more calm you are and the more you're like, okay, they can feel their feelings. They're allowed to have feelings. They're allowed to cry if they want to cry. You know, I'm going to not give in to whatever it was and not feel guilty knowing that I'm actually helping them by being consistent in my rules so they know what to expect every time I'm going to hold my boundary. So definitely want to pair, I think where people get gentle parenting, I don't even know what gentle parenting really is anymore, but I guess what people think it is just like all the validating feelings. So we definitely want to be doing both. We want to validate the feeling and the feeling, but not the behavior. It's okay to feel sad. It's not okay to hit your brother. Okay, no, we're running out of time, but I think we could fit it all in. If we have any other questions about meltdowns. Lastly, with this, if they are really like their like lid has flipped, we want to hold off on teaching. You still want to hold the boundary, but you want to keep it really short and sweet. I get that you're mad, you can't hit, or we can't do this, whatever. But if they're still upset, wait for the lesson till after. Once they're calm, you can talk to them and explain to them why the rule, like answer whatever questions they have or explain it. But in the moment, it's kind of going to go in one ear and out, or not even in their ears at all. Like they will not be able to hear you if they're really upset. If their lid has flipped, their logical brain is offline and they're all in their emotional brain. But we can just be that calm person. If some kids will take, like if you offer a hug or you just start taking deep breaths, they will like that as regulating. Some kids won't, and they just want some space and time, and that's okay too. So with that, I'm going to end with a little imagination exercise. So I want you to imagine that you are on a flight with a lot of turbulence. So you're a passenger, and this is like the most turbulence that you've ever experienced ever. You're scared, and everyone else on the plane is getting scared too. And I want you to imagine pilot number 1 gets on the intercom and yells, "Everyone stop screaming. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You're making this worse. I can't even concentrate. You're going to be the reason I crash this plane." Then imagine pilot number 2 gets on the intercom and goes, "I can see everyone's scared, and I am too. I'm not really sure. I mean, this is really bad. The turbulence is the worst I've ever had. And, if anybody wants to give a try at flying the plane, feel free to come up and take a hand at it, because I'm scared." And then pilot 3 gets on the intercom and says that we're going through some turbulence. I understand that you might be scared. It's okay to be scared, but I am not. I have done this before, and I'm completely confident that I'll get us to the ground safely. So I'm going to get off the intercom right now and go back to flying the plane, and I'm going to land us and get us there soon. Which pilot would you prefer to be flying the plane that you're a million miles in the air on? Which one
The
would you
last
trust?
pilot.
The last one. Yep. 3. We all agree. Thank you. Yeah, so we can apply this. You can maybe guess how this can apply to parenting, right? The first one I think is the easiest. That's us just flipping our lid and yelling and, that angry version. But that teaches our kids, like, whoa, right? If this is the pilot, whoa, the pilot's not even in control. Like, we're distracting the pilot. I don't really feel safe. Number 2, definitely don't feel safe, right? Oh, they don't even know what they're doing. They're scared too. They can't stay calm. I don't trust them to get us sit down safely. This could be the example of like giving in, like, oh, fine, you want ice cream for breakfast? Have it. I don't even care anymore. But to a kid, in the moment, they're getting what they want, but really, they don't. It really, in the end, is very unsettling and can cause anxiety for them when there's not a lot of consistency, or they can't trust that their caregiver is going to be that steady, sturdy leader every time. So we want to be like pilot number 3. We want to be the steady pilot. We want to be calm and in control, show them that their emotions don't scare us or don't overwhelm us, that they can feel all the feelings and we're still going to be calm and loving, and we're still going to be consistent and hold the boundaries and the rules almost every time that we can. So you are the pilot of your household, and you are the pilot of your family, and making sure that you're that strong, steady pilot. All right, perfect timing. I just hit it. So thank you guys for all being here today. I hope it was helpful. And if some of these things you were already doing, maybe just a quick reminder back in your brain to think about them, or hopefully you got some new ideas. I put my email on here. If anyone had any further questions and you wanted to reach out via email, you're more than welcome.